I've played a large amount of video games which have left a lasting impression upon me. Games from my early childhood like Jak and Daxter and Chaos Legion remind me of the golden era of the PlayStation 2, although the latter probably is a terrible game, but I'd have to go back and play it to make sure. Then there are games like Age of Empires 2, one of my first games I ever played, which I still occasionally will play today. Or maybe RuneScape, an MMO that I sometimes hop on for a few hours here and there, and probably is one of the most influential games that I've played to date, along with the slightly more recent Dark Souls. Recently, however, I've added another game to this list, and that game is Stardew Valley, a game described by many as a one-man labor of love. This description is actually quite accurate. It was made by one guy. He did the entire thing. But why? Why is a simple 2D game about living on a farm so great? And what makes it such a joy to play? To truly understand, I'd simply recommend that you play it, because the experience of watching somebody else play this game and talk about it just kind of pales in comparison to experiencing it yourself. The game begins with you working a monotonous desk job. So monotonous, in fact, that one of the employees died right there, and nobody seems to notice, or maybe they just don't care. It's the type of job that nobody wants growing up, but the one that a lot of people end up with. The skeleton at the desk personifies what it feels like to work at a job that has no meaning whatsoever to you. Working 9 to 5, maybe longer, only to survive and live another day. Most people aren't content with this life, but they never want to make a step to change it, so it stays the same. This skeleton is you. It's you because you never try to make anything of yourself. It's the you that had potential, but was completely stripped to the bone when you applied to your dead-end job. But that's the main part of this game. You get to escape that cycle of brain-dead corporate life. You receive a letter from a dying man who looks like jolly old Saint Nick, who turns out to be your grandfather. He tells you to open the letter whenever you feel lost in life, and what a better time to open this letter than when you're sitting in an office filled with not yet dead zombies and a literal skeleton. Your character opens the letter and finds out that your grandpa left you a farm. Curse you, Grandpa, I didn't want a farm. Or maybe you did, but you didn't know yet. But in a way, anything seems better than here. It doesn't matter what the opportunity was, as long as it got you away from this soul-sucking lifestyle. Then, you arrive at the farm. Guess what? It sucks. It is in complete disrepair, much like your character's life. But what did I start doing immediately after arriving on this farm? Well, I personally went right to work, clearing up my farm. Losing most of the energy immediately, I explored the farm a little bit and planted my vegetables. That was my first day in Stardew Valley. At least, something like that, as far as I remember. I woke up the next day in the game and did very similar things, not knowing about the town full of people to talk to, the mines to delve into and excavate, the countless artifacts to find for the museum, or even the mysterious magic that kind of hangs over the valley. You continue doing whatever you were doing without thinking too much about it. Your character fills up his or her day with seemingly meaningless tasks, but for some reason it feels fresh, both to the player and presumably to the person the player gets to control. The previous job at Joja Mart, or the Joja Corporation, did not leave any time to spend outside or come to terms with the real world. It droned on, and simply going home did not feel like much of a break. It just seemed like a small amount of time between waking up and repeating that same cycle over and over again. But isn't that exactly what you do on the farm? You wake up and you do the same thing over and over again. Well, not quite. The farm represents freedom for your character. There is no schedule, there is no rules, at least to some extent, and there's no set playstyle to follow. I sometimes saw posts online about people asking the quickest way to make money in Stardew Valley, and originally I simply looked at these people and I was like, you missed the point of the game completely. But then, while considering that thought, realizing how dumb it was, that's the literal point of this game. The game is about doing whatever you want, and you aren't restricted by an overarching management system or a set schedule. So if you want to make a ton of money, that's what the game is there to do. If you want to do something simpler, then do it. Other than waking up at 6 a.m., everything you do is up to you. Want to wake up at 6 and go straight back to sleep? Go ahead, nothing's stopping you. Want to wake up at 6 and stay up using all of your energy until 2 in the morning and pass out? Go ahead, you can do that. Although, you have to pay those dirty Joja Mart workers some cash money, even if you pass out inside your own house. Don't understand that to this day, but whatever. You know, if you pass out on your floor, sometimes they have to carry you to your bed. A small fee of like $1,000. Nothing, that's a drop in the bucket. Those workers are everywhere, though, watching people's every move. Except, that skeleton that nobody seemed to really care about. But back to the point at hand here. Stardew Valley is supposed to be an area of rebirth for your character. You move away from everything that you have ever known to experience an entirely new life and try something new. It's something that people in real life want all the time, but never actually work to achieve. We always settle for the status quo, rather than aspiring to even greater heights. But this game is telling you that that's not the type of life to live. In fact, this game might even be hinting that the lifestyle is legitimately eating you alive. As you spend time in this new environment, you learn plenty of knowledge about the valley and the people who inhabit it. Maybe you even start gifting people presents and getting their cutscenes to play. Some of these cutscenes are funny and entertaining, while others are slightly depressing with a melancholic tone to them. For instance, Shane seems to be living a life similar to the one that you used to be living. He goes to work every day like clockwork, and befriending him is one of the easiest things to do in the game. Mostly due to the fact that you can find him in two distinct spots in the game for the most part. He's either working his days at the Joja Mart, or he's drinking the rest of that night away at the pub. Somewhat sad, but at least he's easy to find. This brings us to the reality that the Valley isn't a savior to everyone, like it is to your character. Some characters have similar problems to the one that you had back at your old job, but out here in the country instead. It's because not everyone in life has the same goals, and by extension, not everyone has the same fix to their problems. The Valley is a welcome change to your character, and it gives them a breath of fresh air. But even Shane finds a reason to keep going on with his life, although he might not be the happiest about it. However, over time, you might glance into the lives of the residents of this town and realize that they too have hopes, passions, and dreams for the future. At the same time, a lot of these people also have lives going on behind the scenes that you might learn a little bit about here and there, but not learn in full detail, and you as the player can only guess about them. Some of them seem content with what they are doing. For instance, Willie the Fisherman, the Mayor, Robin, Demetrius, and a few others seem at home in the Valley and comfortable there. A commonality here is that these characters seem to be older and have their lives established. They probably accomplished their main goals in life and seem content with living out the rest of their days doing what they are doing now. And, although unlikely, maybe they feel like the skeleton at the Joja office, simply having to convince themselves that things cannot change. Many others like Shane, Sam, Sebastian, and even Abigail to an extent all seem to be missing something in their life though, as if they are still searching for that big break in life, or as if they are still trying to find their passion. In a way, I guess you could say that they haven't found their farm yet. They haven't found their way out, their escape to their current situation. They didn't receive a note from their grandfather, which led to a new way of life. Just like in real life, most people won't receive a note that changes the way they live. You can't just sit around, letting your days pass you by, expecting that one day something, anything, will come along and rip you away from your monotonous way of living. Then again, the player is a major part of the game. The player, you, are the one controlling your character's life. Maybe you use video games to escape from reality for a while. For around 100 hours this summer, Stardew Valley became my farm. But just like in this game, the harvesting season eventually ended, and I completed most of what I wanted to do in this game. In the future, I want to play through the game again, but I know that it won't have the same impact as playing it the first time. Now, at the same time, I do believe that it will bring plenty of enjoyment, and that's all a video game has to do, right? Bring the player some sort of entertainment, or a way to experience a different life for a while. In this case, farm life. The fact that it's a farm doesn't matter. It can be whatever you want it to be. What's that goal you always wanted to pursue, but were too stuck to ever go after? You can't wait around for a letter to come find that out for you. You'll have to figure that out for yourself. If you aren't satisfied with your current situation, what are you waiting for? Go, exit out of this video before you end up like this guy. Grab that watering can and get to work. Your life isn't going to fix itself. I know exactly what to do now. Dang it.